The Economist comes out and says, we're screwed. The U.S. financial system almost just collapsed. The Fed then comes out and says, we will print the money. The Treasury Secretary then comes out and says, I will print the money also. The U.S. banking system then also comes out and says, please help us participate in printing thy money. Printing the money.
The US financial system is cracking, and Jack Mallers is yelling from the rooftops. In this video, he breaks down exactly why Bitcoin is finally breaking free from stocks, and why it's happening now. While the media quietly deletes stories about financial collapse, the Fed, the Treasury, and the US banking system are all screaming the same thing behind the scenes. We will print the money. Jack connects the dots, from soaring bond yields to collapsing market confidence, and lays out why this sovereign debt crisis isn't coming. It's already here. This is the moment Bitcoin was built for. So if you want the unfiltered truth about what's happening behind the headlines, and why Jack's bet on Bitcoin has never been stronger, this episode is a must-watch. Let's dive in. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe so you never miss a moment.
I made a prediction this year that Bitcoin would diverge from its correlation with the stock market, and it would start to trade more like gold. It would start to trade as the independent asset it is. It does not have earnings. It does not have a CEO. It does not have a product. Bitcoin is money. Bitcoin is its own monetary policy. It's its own instrument. It's a commodity-like portfolio asset. It should not necessarily be correlated to a basket of stocks. However, it has been. I've talked about why I believe that is such the case. And I've said on this podcast and made a definitive prediction that this year, in the year 2025, we would start to see that become less correlated to the stock market. It would start to trade independently. It would go catch up to gold's performance and actually exceed gold's performance. Over the last week, since I talked to you all, that has started to play out. So first, let me share my screen of an article that was published on April 10th, 2025 by The Economist that was then taken down. Okay. Title of the article, America's financial system came close to the brink. Chaotic markets threaten to trigger a full-blown crisis. Okay. We are viewing this screen share on archive.today. This is an archived version of what was an article published by The Economist that was taken down by The Economist. So we've been saying on this show that these financial markets are buckling at the knees. They're going to collapse. You've got dollar down, bonds down, stock market down, mayhem, trouble, alert, alert. You've had the Secretary of the U.S. Treasury saying, we're focusing on the 10-year, we're focusing on the 10-year, we're focusing on the 10-year. And what have we said the last few episodes? Hey, buddy, wake up. The 10-year's going the wrong way. You're going wrong way down to one way, brother. Wrong way down to one way. The 10-year's going up. The 10-year's going up. The stock market's going down. Bad news. Danger, danger. Okay. Now, The Economist wrote a piece admitting all of this and saying this is the U.S. financial system is about donezo. We are in serious trouble. Now, they since have taken that down. Shout out to archive.today. So just to set the tone, the U.S. financial system is in serious trouble. Serious trouble. Now, on to my next screen share. What we've seen since is financial authorities saying they will print the money. Now, if you're an avid listener to the show, I know some of this is repetitive, but I'm laying the groundwork in the context. Trust me, hang with me. This is from the Financial Times. Federal Reserve, quote, absolutely, end quote, ready to help stabilize market if needed, top official says. Guys, what we've seen since 2019 is if the Treasury's market gets unruly and gets out of whack, financial authorities will immediately step in and provide liquidity, print the money, support the system. Only way out is through. The only way out is through. Don't care what anyone has to tell you, where they went to school, what they do for work, who their mom or dad is. None of it matters. They have to print the money. As soon as the Treasury market gets out of control, they scream, and they publish in all media, we will print the money. Next, now this is a even bigger deal. Now I'm sharing a Bloomberg article titled, Besant says Treasury has a big toolkit if needed for bonds. Now, we just heard from the Federal Reserve, the central bank that prints the dollars, okay, that they have the Treasury markets back. Now we're hearing from the Treasury Department, the Secretary of the Treasury, saying the Treasury has the tools to print the money, okay? So now you're hearing from the Fed and the U.S. Treasury that when it comes to the bond market, when it comes to the sovereign debt crisis that Jack and the Money Matters podcast has been screaming about in this big empty closet, and everyone's like, is that guy 12 years old? Is he 30 years old? What's going on? I've been screaming sovereign debt crisis. Treasury market is unstable. None of this is going to work. They have to print the money. Buy Bitcoin while you can. Kicking and screaming and kicking and screaming. Now we're seeing it in the headlines. Okay, next thing I want to share with you guys. So 1, we've got the Fed saying they'll print the money. 2, we've got the Treasury saying they'll print the money. Now what's 3? 3 is the U.S. banking system will help print the money. Treasury explores whether to ease capital rule on U.S. bonds. This is the SLR. We've been saying this on this show over and over and over and over again. There is a rule that requires banks to post necessary collateral to use leverage to participate in the bond market. They are looking to revoke and change that rule so that banks can buy unlimited amount of dog shit debt for the U.S. government without posting any collateral. This makes them unlimited buyers supplying unlimited demand for a product that nobody wants, which is lending money to someone who's already $36 trillion in debt. Okay, so recap. The Economist comes out and says, we're screwed. The U.S. financial system almost just collapsed. The Fed then comes out and says, we will print the money. The Treasury Secretary then comes out and says, I will print the money also. The U.S. banking system then also comes out and says, please help us participate in printing thy money. Printing the money. Now, last one I want to share as far as news that's telling you exactly what's going to happen is from CNBC. Title, Fed Governor Waller sees tariff inflation as, quote, transitory, end quote, in tush-push comparison. I couldn't believe they're using this transitory word again. They just got crucified for using the transitory word through COVID inflation. Crucified. It's transitory. It's transitory. It's transitory. Oh, wasn't transitory. It broke every inflation record in America. Wasn't transitory. Either you're a liar or you're stupid. Either way, it's dangerous. Okay, they're back. Fed Governor Waller sees tariff inflation as transitory. First of all, let's break this down. It's an admission that tariffs are inflationary. Let's not let that slide. Embedded in this statement is that tariffs are inflationary. They're just saying it's transitory. By the way, guys, their admission of saying it's transitory, all they're saying is we're going to print the money anyway. We're not taking it seriously. It's transitory. It'll pass. We don't give a shit. That's what they're saying. Okay? So let's recap. The Economist says, little does anyone know the U.S. financial system was about to fall apart. But we knew on the Money Matters podcast, we knew because we've been saying dollar down, bonds down, stock market down. This isn't working. Mayhem, mayhem. They're going to have to print the money. We knew. We knew. The world didn't know. We knew. The world didn't know. Economist says the U.S. financial system is about to fall apart. Then the Fed comes out and says, we will print the money. The Treasury comes out and says, we will also print the money. The U.S. banking says, change the rule so that we can also print the money. Then the Fed says, oh yeah, in this worry about inflation because of tariffs, transitory, AKA we don't give a shit. We're still going to print the money. Okay. I often say financial markets aren't that complicated if you're paying attention. Okay. All you got to do is own something they can't make more of and pay attention.